Wrdw.com. Click, click.
The First Alert Team, the best in Georgia. Live from Augusta, you're watching News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Tonight, the story of a family whose relief turned to grief. Alan Thibodeau was a son, a brother, a father, and friend. He also had a history of mental illness. When he turned up missing, his family feared the worst.
What they didn't know, the worst was yet to come. As our Meredith Anderson has uncovered, having a mental illness could mean a death sentence. We do want to warn you, though, some of the images you're about to see are heartbreaking and disturbing. And this story also talks about suicide, so please take care when watching. This is body cam from the night Alan Thibodeau was arrested. And this is Alan just 5 months later when someone at the Bamberg Detention Center finally called an ambulance. He died at the hospital. Thing is, Alan wasn't supposed to be behind bars. He was supposed to be in a hospital bed.
He always loved music. Alan loved music.
Especially rock and roll. Specifically, 80s hair bands.
Music was his life.
Yep. He could play other instruments, but Alan was first and foremost a drummer, keeping the beat for every band he was in. But in this band of brothers, he was also the heartbeat.
I just miss him being around. Think about him every day.
And you say your name is Alan Thibodeau.
Valentine's Day, 2022. Bamberg County deputies arrested Alan after responding to a call about a burglary. They found him lying on a bed. He admitted he broke in on a cold night for a place to stay and keep warm. Hands behind his back, his life now in the hands of law enforcement. Deputies took him to the Bamberg County Detention Center, where records show he needed help, not handcuffs. But records also show he became a victim of a process that moved painfully slow as he was quickly getting worse.
Please don't judge us, y'all. We've been trying to deal with this man, but now he's not responding real well, and I'm a little scared.
July 10th, 2022. Alan is unresponsive. The jail finally calls for help.
Just put the shackles on.
Alan is lying on the floor in his cell, naked and covered in his own feces. He never says a word, but you can hear a faint moan as deputies try to move him. Alan can't even sit up on his own.
1, 2, 3.
For the first time, his emaciated body comes into view of the camera. He doesn't move at all, even as deputies cover him up, even as they begin to roll him through the halls of the detention center. His feet are dragging, much like the process that brought him to this point.
Doesn't look nothing like he did the night that morning we got him.
Alan is dying. His organs are failing. The 51-year-old is essentially starving to death.
Looks like he hasn't ate since he's been here.
For 146 days, documents show he hasn't had any medication. None. Despite Alan's family telling the detention center back in February he cannot go extended periods of time without his meds. In an email, just days after his arrest, his brother warns it's dangerous and potentially life-threatening if he doesn't take them. And it's not like his medications were a secret. When the judge ordered an evaluation, the South Carolina Department of Mental Health got this list from his hospital in Virginia. Everything from antipsychotics to antidepressants to a mood stabilizer. The state also requested info from the Bamberg Detention Center, but the jail said they had no records, only notes, which it appears no one provided.
Keep stopping breathing.
Alan does finally get some medication now, after going without the drugs he needed for months. Narcan, though, a drug used to treat drug overdoses.
And they said he's been like this all morning.
At the hospital, he gets another dose of Narcan, then another and another. Records show he had a total of 6 doses. Drugs weren't the problem.
Yeah. Because if he wakes up, I mean, he is going.
Well, I need to be able to get an ID, and it's kind of hard.
Alan is in bad shape, and it's increasingly obvious the hospital staff knows it. Still, deputies insist on keeping him restrained.
I just don't want him hurting you guys.
I'm not worried about that. I don't want him dying.
Alan only lived for another 12 days. He died July 23rd.
Nothing excuses how he was treated. Nothing.
Larry and Ed Thibodeau live in Virginia. Alan did too. He was the baby brother, the youngest of 4. But when their parents got sick, he was the one to step up.
When my dad was diagnosed with cancer, my mom had a stroke. Alan was living with them, and he cared for them.
Then came Mom's breast cancer and chemo.
He was the one making sure she ate, took her medicine, really cared for her, brought her to all of her doctor's appointments.
It's those kind of things that we're like, oh man, we look back and we're like, he, on top of his medication and his illness and fighting the world, he had to deal with all that kind of stuff too. I mean, just shows his character. He was a good person. He really was a good person.
And for years at a time, Alan would be stable. He has a son, and his childhood best friend remained his best friend into adulthood.
Alan was so awesome. He really was. You would have loved Alan. He was a great guy.
Alan was a light to so many, but his illness took him to a lot of dark places. When unmedicated, he was hospitalized with delusions and bizarre behavior. He would see and hear things that weren't there. At times, he'd even be catatonic.
We're just talking. You're fine. You're not in any trouble, okay?
Okay, cool.
You're good. Just take a seat.
His family shared this cell phone video when they had to call law enforcement. He was committed involuntarily to a mental hospital in Virginia. Medical records show he's threatened suicide, but his brothers say it was more than a threat. He tried to take his life several times, and when he went missing in July of 2022, they confess, deep down, that's what they feared he had done. Still, they hoped he would be found and filed a missing persons report. They never expected the phone would ring with word he'd been arrested almost 500 miles away in South Carolina. You're probably relieved to find out he had been found and arrested. I mean, this was great news. You thought he was potentially dead.
Yes, we did. And that's the thing I think people don't understand about this, is he had schizophrenia, okay? He was a grown man. He was 51 years old, okay? Legally, we had no authority. Nobody has authority over him. He can go wherever he wants. Okay, even in conditions in Virginia, when he was ordered to stay in the hospital, after 1 week, he was allowed to sign himself out if he wanted to. Right? The system is entirely broken.
But this time was different. Alan had a criminal charge to answer to, so they thought he wouldn't be able to sign himself out. He would have to get well. And friends and family tell the I-Team they thought he was on track to get the help he so desperately needed. His brothers said they called often to check on Alan. They said he was fine.
Yes, that there's no mistaking that, okay?
Did you have any idea he wasn't eating?
No. None, because his attorney kept saying, he's fine, he's so happy, he's laughing, he's singing.
This letter from the Bamberg County Detention Center to the coroner reflects that. It says he never refused food. In fact, he occasionally asked for more. It says he sang, laughed, and danced. It does indicate his behavior changed quickly, calling him erratic and aggressive, but up-spirited. It describes other concerning behavior, but never once does it mention weight loss.
You can notice when someone loses 20 pounds. He lost almost 80 pounds, and you didn't notice that?
This almost went unnoticed, too, at the state level because of something that happened when Alan was in the hospital. The solicitor dropped his charges. Null pros, meaning he's declining to prosecute. It's not likely out of sympathy for Alan dying in a hospital bed. If Alan is no longer facing charges, he's no longer the responsibility of the Bamberg Detention Center. And not just for medical bills. When an inmate dies in custody, it automatically triggers a state investigation. But Alan was no longer an inmate, and he was no longer in custody. the state would have no reason to look into what happened.
How do they sleep at night? I hope they close their eyes and they see Alan every night. I hope for the rest of their lives. I hope they're haunted by what they did.
The family might have never known something was suspicious either, if not for the doctors and nurses at the hospital. 2 days before Alan died, medical staff contacted the state reporting concerns of neglect when Alan was in the Bamberg Detention Center. The state suggested contacting the Bamberg County Sheriff's Office, which staff questioned, asking if it was appropriate considering their involvement. The state rep assured them that was the correct reporting method. The Bamberg County Sheriff told the staff to email him the report, and he would send it to SLED. The hospital then called SLED and emailed concerns directly. Alan was known for being talented on the drums, but his brothers say he had wanted to start using his voice and be a singer. Now his brothers will have to be his voice, and a voice for other inmates and other families who might also be victims of a process that leaves those with mental illness dying for help.
Look what you're doing. You know, you're going to help a lot of people. I think he would say, all right, make him happy, I think.
SLED did investigate and just recently released the results of that investigation. I am holding the report in my hand. And while South Carolina state investigators found nothing criminal, I'm told the FBI is involved. The family has also filed 2 lawsuits, one in federal court and one in South Carolina as well. There is so much more to follow and so much more I've uncovered, plus much more with his family and friends. Stay tuned.
Meredith Anderson reporting for us there. Just heartbreaking story to watch, especially knowing he had family, loving family, just hours away.
Right, and they thought the fact that he had been found and arrested might mean he actually would get the help he needed. But seeing those images, it's just hard to stomach.
And Meredith, of course, will continue following up because we need to know where things go from here. Riley?
Well, guys, we're likely going to set a record temperature today and going to continue those record temps the next couple. Also, the chance for some rain. We'll have that full forecast just after the break. Back more sunshine.
All right, thanks, Riley. Still to come on News 12, prayers and tributes pour in for a young life gone too soon. We have more on the passing of Aiken teen Emily Heath after the break.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Automotive Group.
It's the Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.
Inspirational, kind, loving, and impactful are just a few of the words classmates, family, and friends are using to describe 18-year-old Emily Heath.
She lost her life yesterday in a crash off Brick Pond Road. The Silver Bluff senior had her whole life ahead of her.
Sydney Hood joins us in the newsroom to share her story.
To be only 18 years old, Emily Heath had a solid plan for her future. She had every detail lined up, from who she was going to marry to the job she wanted. So much life ahead, only to be cut so short.
A smile says a lot about a person. In Emily Heath's case, her smile is one that makes all of us smile. You hardly see her without one. Just look at any picture of her. It really is true that you never know the value of a picture until it's all you have left of someone. When Emily left this earth, she left a huge hole in everyone's hearts. You can tell that by just looking at social media. One person wrote, "You were one of those people that made my day better by just having a quick conversation between classes." Another wrote, "I'm just heartbroken for all the memories we won't get to make, but I'll forever be thankful for the ones we did. I'll forever be thankful for you, our friendship, and all the memories we shared. You'll forever... Lord knows you sure took a piece of mine with you. I love you, my beautiful angel."
And every friend of Emily's I talked with today said she was the most driven person. She had a lot going on: high school, a job, and was in the biomedical science program at Aiken County's Career and Technology Center. So a lot for an 18-year-old, but when you're as dedicated as Emily was, you find a way to reach your goals.
Justin, and our prayers to that family. Just so hard when it's so sudden and someone so young.
And we do appreciate family and friends sharing their thoughts with us to bring her alive to a lot of folks who never got to know her. Thanks for the update there from our newsroom. Another top story tonight, one man will spend life in prison for the 2020 killing of Scotland Wrdw. Today, Ronald Harris was sentenced for that murder. Lawyers say Harris disposed of Scotland's body in Jefferson County. Margaret Elaine Harris, his wife, pleading guilty previously to burglary and concealing a death. She got a sentence of 30 years, the first 20 to be served in confinement in relation to this case. Harris pled guilty to malice murder, felony murder, burglary in the first degree, and concealing the death of another. He got a sentence of life plus 30 years.
A train derailment in Augusta is expected to cause issues for several days. It happened on Laney Walker Boulevard right near 5th Street around 7 this morning. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office says there were no injuries or hazardous materials spilled, but they do say you need to avoid Laney Walker at 5th Street, New Savannah Road, and Nowell Road for the next few days because they'll be repairing those tracks out there.
The city of Augusta embracing some environmentally friendly tech. Today, leaders unveiling new EV chargers right behind the municipal building. It's the second set of city-installed EV charging stations. You can find the first set over at Diamond Lakes Regional Park as part of a collaboration with Jefferson Energy. That app opened up back in 2021. Leaders say more plans are in the works.
We're actually doing an energy savings project, which it considers all the facilities of Augusta. And then we have more chargers that will be coming to 452 Walker Street, which is the utilities building.
So it'll cost you $2 per hour to use with an extra 14 cents per kilowatt.
Local artists looking for a chance in the spotlight can showcase their talents on a large scale. The Jesse Norman School of the Arts are looking for 4 artists for their annual window display gallery show. There are 3 application deadlines coming up you need to pay attention to, and the next one is February 1st. And if they choose you, each artist will have their work shown for 10 weeks on the school's 8th Street windows. These are some images of earlier displays. Then at the end of the year, they'll all be invited back as part of a group exhibition.
It's for any artist in the community that's up and coming. So it's a really great opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door, get some gallery experience. So it is open to the community.
And if you have any questions, they say you can call the school. There's a link to apply on our website. We have more News 12 right after this break.
Wages recovered and everything else you're entitled to.
Call John Boy and Associates now.
All right, welcome back, folks. Here's a look across the region. We are still seeing temps in the 60s and 70s, a little bit cooler up there towards the lake, but we are now past sunset. So as we head into tonight, we're going to continue to see these clouds stick around and potentially even some dense fog. So be safe on the roadways late tonight into early tomorrow. High temperatures the next couple of days, well above average, 10 to 15 degrees above average at that. We'll be back down close to average Sunday into early next week, and it looks like those rain chances will be around at least for the next couple of days. So throughout the day, Friday and Saturday, just make sure you have the umbrella close by. It doesn't look like all-day rain events by any means, but just a high chance you see it at some point. And then by Sunday, mostly dry, but staying pretty breezy.
And that's all our time for News 12 at 6 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching.
We'll be back with more News 12 tonight at 11. At the CBS Evening News, we focus on solutions, finding solutions to help people understand what are the right choices to make for you and your family. Firefighters were busy in South Augusta this afternoon. When they arrived on scene of this home on Wilds Road near the Augusta Mall, they saw flames. They had to battle smoke. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but fortunately, no one was hurt in that fire.
Much more news ahead, but right now, a check of the weather this month. If you know where he might be, call the police department or Jefferson County Dispatch.
Friends, family, and the Aiken community are remembering 18-year-old Emily Heath, who died in a car accident yesterday. They say the Silver Bluff senior was inspirational, kind, loving, and impactful. A friend of the Heath family says Emily was on her way to work at Aloha Aesthetics as a part of her work-study program for phlebotomy when that accident happened. They also say Emily had already completed her lab tech certification. She was planning to attend college for a degree in nursing. Friends of Emily say she was the most driven person, juggling things like high school, a job. She was in the biomedical science program at Aiken County's Career and Tech Center. So just a woman with a lot ahead of her, and several of Emily's peers are sharing how they're remembering her tonight. One person said she was the sweetest and would always give friends pep talks for the phlebotomy program and was helpful with labs. Another said she was very bright. She would always have good energy. She was helpful, giving, and loving. They add she's in a better place resting, but is missed a lot and loved forever. 2 men are facing life in prison for 2 separate murders. District Attorney Jared Williams says Ronald Harris murdered John DeVore, also known as Scotland DeVore, in March of 2020. Authorities say Harris took DeVore's body and put it in Jefferson County, in a car in McDuffie County, and DeVore's phone in Richmond County. Harris pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including malice and felony murder. He's facing life in prison plus 30 years. And in another case, Jamarius Walker, he was sentenced to life for the murder of Laney High graduate Antonio Geter. Geter was shot on San Sebastian Court in April of 2020. That year, a murder indictment was issued, but after a gang link was discovered, prosecutors added 4 criminal street gang terrorism charges. Walker was found guilty of all 10 counts. He's facing life in prison plus 20 years.
3 men convicted of hate crimes